What is going on, everybody? That includes the 315 subs that joined in August. I paired up against a national master in 2 dailies, and when black goes Sicilian, I destroy any and all prep with the Mengarini. The title player's name was Sam I Am, Sam I Am, Sam I Am, and let's jump right into this breakdown. I play e4, they follow up with c5, the Sicilian defense. I push a3, the Mengarini variation. It looks weak, but it packs a huge punch. I play this variation because it negates black's preparation. There are a lot of traps in the opening, and odds are your opponent hasn't played it before. Black's normal replies to the Mengarini are knight c6, pawn e6, and sometimes even pawn g6. d5 is pushed instead. I capture, expecting the queen to recapture, but black blunders with a late pawn e6 instead. This already gives up a full pawn, and we will create an isolated e-pawn. It's only move 3, and the analysis is pegged at plus 2.65 against a national master. That's the power of the Mengarini. Don't capture e6 yet. The bishop would recapture, preventing an isolated pawn from forming. Bishop b5 check will pin a piece on d7. If black chooses to block with the knight, we now can capture e6 since the f-pawn is the only defender and now becomes an isolated pawn. Our game, the bishop blocks the check instead, and if we captured it, isolating the e-pawn would be impossible. Queen e2 protects our bishop and pins that e6 pawn. Any set of exchanges allows us to isolate the pawn now that the queen is set. a6 kicks our bishop, so we exchange out on the d7 square. Black recaptures, and now we capture e6 to isolate it. It doesn't matter if the queen captures, and then we recapture, and then the pawn finishes the sequence, or if the pawn just captures it off the bat and the queen stay on the board. Knight f3 prepares me to castle. Knight c6 also prepares black to castle. I short castle, black long castles. I move my rook over to create a battery. Black moves his rook over to take apart theirs. I develop my other knight to c3. Black develops theirs to f6. I place my knight in front of the black isolated pawn, and black pushes it up 1 square as far as it can go. d3 opens up a line for my dark squared bishop. Black develops their dark squared bishop to guard the knight. I bring out mine to attack it. Their knight jumps up to d4, attacking my queen, so I capture it with the only piece that reaches it. The e-pawn recaptures, opening up the file completely. If anything or everything trades on f6, it'll isolate black's remaining kingside pawns. Queen f3 removes risk of the discovery attack. f5 kicks my knight. I believe it's going to g3, it's the safest. Rook f8 doubles the defenses of f5, and then a rook e2 prepares doubling of the rooks. Bishop d6 takes aim at my knight. Rook e1 completes that doubling of the rooks. h5 adds pressure to my kingside. Rook e6 removes the queen from defending f5. And then bishop captures knight. And I choose to recapture with the queen to avoid doubling pawns, and it also puts my queen back on the semi-open file. Rook e8 readies the exchange of the rooks. Queen g6 adds a defender to the e6 rook. It also adds a third attacker on the e8 square. And then black captures the rook on e6, and then I recapture the rook on e6. Queen d5 aims at a2 and g2. Checking with rook forces the exchange. Recapturing comes with check. After the king moves to the only available square, we can scoop up that h-pawn. Queen a2 threatens a back rank mate, and h4 gives us an escape square. Their queen captures b2, aiming at c2 next, so we can stop that with f7 check. We can move our queen to c3 after the king moves, but they blunder with b6. It lets me force the queens off the board and puts me in a position of a winning endgame. After one more move each, black resigns. I'm currently playing one more game against this guy where I'm black. I'm doing pretty good, but I don't really know how it's going to end up. I'll post another video if I do end up winning, but I appreciate you, and this has always been a goal of mine. Thanks for watching.